Good.
I didn't even mean for it to have the intro music behind it, but it worked out nicely, actually.
The low rider.
Well, there's low rider, and then there's like the intro music to the classic. But that was also in the background while low rider was playing.
Okay, let's ride.
See, and then as soon as it dies
you're
out,
good. Don't do it again. You're good. I got it.
Okay, let's ride.
So as soon as the music dies out, he does the "Let's Ride." It's really subtle. If we watch it one more time.
Audio listeners are long gone.
That's right. I want to drive him toward this anyway. Drive him toward.
Oh, no pun intended. Drive. Yeah.
Oh,
God, Gone in 60 Seconds. I haven't watched that. That might be a fun rainy day.
Oh yeah.
You know what? I got to call out from work and see if I can squeeze in watching Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yeah.
See what I did there?
Oh, I see what you totally did there. So you would do that to your only employer, I guess.
If I had an employer, sure.
Yeah. That's a good way to lead right into it. Hey, Jack, is this job a hobby for you?
What job is that?
That's right. Parenting, I guess, at this point.
Isn't parenting's not a job? It's a privilege.
Amen.
Yeah,
privilege.
I had a fucking department head who actually said that to me one time. When I was on my ship tour in Sasebo, and I was maybe like 3 months in. It was early. Like we had, I get there October, November, December, January, February. It's like March. So Nicole and I were not married yet, but it was on the calendar, and we went on like an exercise up to the inland Japanese Sea. I forget what that's called. Doesn't matter. TMI. And we went out, got obliterated, like pulling to port, go out with the rest of the junior officers in the wardroom and stuff, just actually get obliterated, show up at get back to the ship by like 4 a.m. Nav brief is at like 6:30 a.m. So shower, maybe like fall asleep in a chair in the in the wardroom waiting for breakfast, wake up and he looks at me, he goes, I was fine. I was 25 and whatever.
Living life. Yeah.
Exactly. And he said something about like, you guys all act like this job is so hard. You got to blow off all this steam. He goes, you need an attitude adjustment. This isn't a job. This is a privilege. And you got to treat it like that. And I just looked at him and I'm like, and the worst part was like, while he's saying that, right behind him is one of the guys I went out with. And he's just like,
oh God,
like making funny faces behind him.
So you're all trying hard not to laugh.
I want to vomit because I'm so hungover, right? Like it's already setting in.
You're chewing it back already.
Yeah, I already get seasick as it is, and I know like the weather was shitty, so we were going to be and we're in a minesweeper, so it's going to be a rough ride out. And and I'm just like, all right. He was the chief engineer, which he called him the Chang chief engineer. Which another funny story. So on his departure. No, the guy who was after him, maybe, I don't remember. But at some point there was like there was a turnover between the chief engineers, the department heads. Nicole was there at that point. And so you do like a hail and farewell. So you hail the person coming, farewell the person leaving, you go out. It's kind of funny. You do like funny jokes, funny, gifts and stuff. Yeah. So new Chang coming, old Chang leaving. And you're just like Chang this, Chang that, Chang. You don't use first names ever. Like it's the most effed up system. The Navy in general is. But from like a personal connection, human emotional standpoint. So they, we're like, Chang, funny stories, whatever. And Nicole leans over to me. She goes, "It's so crazy that they both have the same last name, Chang, and they're not even like Asian. Neither of them."
I probably would have thought the same exact thing.
Yeah, and I was just like, and I'm taking liberties with the story. I don't remember exactly if she said it right then or if it was like afterwards, or she even said it in that way. I don't remember exactly.
That's the gist.
But the sentiment was basically that. And I just was like, you'd think like I would be like, "Oh my God, you're so stupid, love it." I just was like, holy shit, you're right. Like you have no idea. No, it stands for chief engineer.
Yeah.
And it gets shortened to Chang. And she goes, I said that like kind of was like, "Oh yeah. And she goes, "You guys are so fucked up."
That's funny.
She might like, "Y'all are so fucked up." Because I was the damage control assistant, so I was the DCA.
Yeah.
And DCA.
Dicka?
Yeah, basically, right? Like it's the word. It's a 3-letter acronym, but that's the guy who works the surface stuff or the deck stuff is the first lieutenant. So they don't even call him first lieutenant. He's just first, right? XO is XO. The executive officer is the executive officer.
Yeah.
CO is sir.
Always sir. Yeah.
But it was so like nobody call anybody else. We did between the like circle of like 3 or 4 guys I was really close with.
Right.
But anyway, little digression. Your job is not. Stop treating your job like a job. Treat it like a privilege. It's not a responsibility. It's a privilege.
It's a privilege.
Yeah.
Was that where we're talking about parenthood again?
Well, I just wanted to bring it back around for you.
That makes me think too. There was this episode of The Office. Let's say Dwight was talking about sales or something like that, and he's like, "Sales is the second easiest job in the world," and then he like looks right at the camera and he goes, "Motherhood."
And only Rainn Wilson could really deliver that line.
So good.
What was he in recently where he had like a really bushy beard?
Yeah.
And he was like playing like he's kind of playing like a little bit of a badass.
Yeah. Because I think I remember seeing a preview for it or something. I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's Rainn Wilson."
And he pulled it off. It's kind of interesting too. So like even like Bill Hader in Barry. Do you watch that, Barry?
I haven't seen it, but I really want to. But
I'm into the second season. It's cool. It's good.
Yeah.
Same thing. Like the first time he pulls off sort of like some pretty impressive badassness. I was like, holy shit, he pulled that off. Like he actually, I buy it. And then Nick Offerman, same thing in The Last of Us, that one episode where he plays one of the right, like same sort of like, oh, there's a darkness in there.
Yeah, it's because you're so used to them being goofy and silly, and you're like, oh, even like John Krasinski in the is it the Tim Ryan? No, it's the
Bob Ryan.
The Bob Ryan series.
Yes.
Yeah, you're so used to him being just kind of silly guy.
And,
he's actually kind of ass kicker.
Well, he does I think outside of Alec Baldwin, I still think captured sort of the original character, the Tom Clancy written character, the best. Harrison Ford just made it into another epic Harrison Ford, right? Like I'd watch that guy, gardening, and he'd probably turn it into a national event.
You could read me the phone book and I'd be entertained.
That is a testament to the liberty of to the shining light of liberty and freedom. The S's in the telephone book, read by Harrison Ford. But Krasinski brings it back where it's that balance between like kind of nerdy academic, but also can throw down if he needs to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sad his role will not be reprised as Reed Richards for Fantastic Four. Because he was
oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so like he was, what was that, Doctor Strange, he was in it. And that was just gonna be a one-off. Oh man. But people also didn't think you did as good of a job. I think there's a lot of hype on him being a great Reed Richards, but
that was like across the the multiverse or something.
Yeah,
or
yeah. So he was in a different universe where Doctor Strange.
It's not just me. Like this generation of the Marvel generation is legitimately like bad, right? Like I'm not just being
I think it's just been, I think it's
curmudgeon-y.
I think they went. I feel like they just started going quantity over quality.
Okay.
And I think they just started throwing everything out. I think it's been hard to keep up with. I think it's been hard to follow. It's been hard to get invested too. Like
There you
I feel
go.
like it's really been hard to get invested in somebody.
That's a good description of it, because I watched the Ant-Man, whatever, Quantumanium.
Yeah.
Had like flickers of that's good. And then it just like it would fizzle at every turn.
Oh really?
At least, I mean, again, Paul Rudd is hilarious to watch.
Yeah, you can't not watch.
I mean,
Paul
the
Rudd,
cat.
yeah.
I mean, there's a Bill Murray is in it,
right?
And
yeah.
and he's funny, but it's like it's sort of just it's just like a sprinkling of Bill Murray. Like, oh, this will just be magic sauce. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, he's good, but it has zero context of like where the story is going. And I mean, Michael, what's his face? My God, I can't think of it. The actor, he's the dad. He's Pym, Walter Pym.
Oh, Douglas. Yeah, Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas. Yeah, I mean, Michelle Pfeiffer, right? Like,
yeah, like a great cast.
What's her face? The Kate from Lost. That's how I'll always remember. We'll always have Lost. She's good, right? They're all good, and it's just,
Jonathan Majors is really starting to make
right. He's the bad guy. Like he's awesome too. Like, and he plays a great bad guy. Like he's just Anyway, all in all, like all the pieces are there. I watched the whole thing and I finished, and I was like, that probably would have been better as like an 8-part, premiere or like prestige TV series.
I think my own barometer as to whether or not I feel like they're doing a good job is that I don't feel like I'm dying to get to see it in the theater like I was before. Like, remember, I was planning my week around.
Oh no, I know, I remember.
And so
you would call in and see if I could cover your Saturday because you were going to go play. You were going to go play hooky with your brother to watch them. I'm bringing that back. I'm totally kidding. I don't ever remember you doing.
No,
that.
I sucked it up. I made it a point. I was like, I will coach Friday morning.
Yeah. So that's a good question, Eric. How would you? What would you use as a calculus to determine whether something was worth or you would because you've had a couple jobs in your lifetime, and I'm sure there's been moments when the job did not hold a place in your life that you would feel guilty calling out to go to a Maroon 5 concert.
I don't think I'd ever call out to see Maroon 5, but I get where you're going.
Hence my use of what? You're not a big
Maroon 5 guy.
Maroon 5 guy.
Yeah, no, like I think I've had plenty of jobs where it's like, and and honestly, in my younger days, I probably did. I'm trying to think of like there probably was one or two occasions where I probably was like, whatever. Before because with life experience, you get like this. You look back and like, I did this one thing, and I realize now that was probably kind of shitty of me. Actually, there's probably a long list of those things, but in the context
we all have it. Yeah.
In the context of this,
but so when was that moment? What was it? Because on our Patreon material, we kind of pre-gamed of there's a sense often when you're in management positions that employees do not hold their jobs or positions in the same respect as as the manager does.
I'll never care as much as you do.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the question I asked was, well, how do you reframe that? Or how do you begin to reframe that for the employees? Because it's a respect it's a reciprocal or reciprocity of respect from my perspective of that. Yeah. Like, look, they don't own the business. An employee is an employee. So there isn't like an an innate expectation that they are going to care in the same way about their position as you do.
Yeah.
But there is a way to reframe it for them or offer them a perspective of, or maybe how do you kind of get to a place where you understand their perspective of why they would treat something that way, right? So that was my question of, do you remember when something, and especially this coaching thing, this idea of being a CrossFit coach, a purveyor of elite fitness, when did that transition from kind of a hobby to a job to a profession?
So I will say this, and at this point, by the time I started coaching, I was at the point in my life where I probably was not making a call to kind of like, brush it off. Like I did by the time I was in my, because I started coaching when I was 30, 31, something like that, early 30s. It's been almost 10 years, I think. But I was at that point where I probably I committed to this thing and I'm going to do this thing because I said I'm going to do it and this and that. And I always remember my dad made the comment. It's not anything like profound because you've heard it before, but it's leaving a place better than the way you found it. So he'd always go to a job and he'd want that job to be whatever it was he did. He wanted it to be better than when he first got there, even if it was just a little bit. And so when I got into coaching, and then I also realized, hey, I really enjoy this coaching thing. And then the more I learned about it, I think it was just the more that I kind of dove into it, I realized, hey, this thing's really cool. And whether it became a full-time job, or I knew that even if it financially, maybe it didn't provide for me a full-time income, but it's something that I knew that I really wanted to do, even if it was on the side, depending on what that job was, because I was doing it when I was coaching at Under Armour, or when I was working at Under Armour. I was doing it when I was working for my dad. I honestly, I can't. It's a hard question because I don't know if I can pinpoint what was it. I think I just knew that I really enjoyed it and I had fun with it. So that's as we asked that question, I've had time to think about it, but I think I knew it was something that I think when it got to the point where it's hey, I don't have a job. Well, I could make this a job. So I lost my job. And then, so I lost my job and I was well, I'm good at this thing and I really enjoy it. Let's make this my job. And then it just kind of snowballed from there.
So is there sort of this weird balance, or kind of like a blending of both enjoyment and then existential fear of starvation and homelessness?
Yes,
that's sort of like a middle ground between those two.
Yeah, there was I needed to make money.
Well, we've only got one kid, and Meg's kind of bendy, so we could totally live in the Ford,
right? We could be all right.
Yeah.
I think there was definitely that sweet spot where it's well, I need to make money. So, but then at the same time too, because even when I was at Old Bay, it was trying to find, it was getting with Alan, it's what more can I do? And turned into okay, it's, on top of coaching, you can start doing the intros and you can start doing foundations and you start meeting those people. And here's a way to start doing this. And which was great for my coaching as well, because now it's more time getting better at coaching. And then at the same time, I learned a little bit about, other parts of the business. And so it just kind of, it was this thing that turned into then when the conversation, a year or two later came to opening up an affiliate, is well, I feel like I've put in a lot of time to have an idea of how to do this. And I knew. So
you say that in the increase in scope of kind of how the sausage got made had sort of a direct proportional relationship to the increase of your sort of relative feeling of having skin in the game?
Yeah, because I think it definitely makes you appreciate it more. Definitely makes it from
it appreciate what?
Like what? Like CrossFit as a business, whether as a coach or as a, like, you realize, it's, I'm sure there's a lot of people that think this. They probably just, they see like, oh, this owner's collecting $200 plus dollars a month, and they have 70 members. Do the math. All right, 200 times 70 is $11 billion a month for those owner, right? It's like,
Hey man, I always knew I was good at two things: math.
yeah. and it's like, and how sweet of a job, like you get to work out all day, and you can work out whenever you want. I remember one of my friends one time saying, like, as a gym owner, there's no excuse for you not to work out every day because you're at a gym every day. And I'm like, yeah, like you're right. Like, you're right to an extent, but also, like, it's that easy, but it's not that easy. And and so seeing like, okay, well, yeah, sure, we're bringing this month, but on top of, like, well, here's what it costs for coaches. Here's what it costs for your lease. Here's what it costs for electric, which sometimes your utilities, which sometimes was more than your lease, as we found with this damn marina. So I think I gained more of an appreciation too, where it's like, yeah, my role as a coach, it's not just that, every time I'm on the floor, like, I am a representative of this business, and I am just as much important. I don't know.
So it sounds to me, right there what you were just saying. So, like, this idea of adopting sort of a slice of identity that is shared between the individual and the establishment, the gym, the business, right? So that to me sounds like what you're talking about is,
Yeah.
Do you identify as Fairwinds CrossFit?
Absolutely, I do.
Right. So
yeah.
Do you think your coaches identify as Fairwinds CrossFit?
I hope they do. Well,
as Patton has been probably incorrectly quoted, hope is not a military strategy, my friend.
That's true.
Though Leia Organa would say it is, right? As long as one glimmer of hope still burns in the galaxy.
Also,
right? Isn't that line from the recent Star Wars?
Stands for hope. Oh, that's a different.
Oh, that's right. There you go. So there is room for hope in some sense, perhaps not as a valid economic business plan that a bank will provide a starter loan for. I know that my numbers look like shit, but I have hope that we're going to turn. We're going to turn this around.
You know what else was red? The S on Superman's chest, and that stood for hope. I will take that $40,000, please.
You can give me that $40,000 at 0% interest rate. Because just like Superman delivered, so will I. Anyway, so I mean, I feel like that was a gentle slap, but that ain't gonna fly, bro. Like hope don't pay the mortgage.
I think it's because I don't want to speak for them, but if I had to say, like, yeah, like, I think when I think of I'll just put Mary out there. Mary's, she's been a member, she's been a coach, she's been back off as a coach, but still as a member, back on as a coach. She's now created a new program for for a population that she really connects with. I like, no doubt in my mind, like, Mary is Fairwinds, right? Like, and she feels that.
So I would agree that there is you can measure that through an individual's actions.
Yeah.
Right. It manifests or unconsciously, right? And the things we do, we are what we do. We are also what we say, how we speak. So have you asked them?
Have I asked them, do they feel like they are?
Like, do you have is there a medium or a forum or a means by which those individuals can offer you feedback of, and both like immediate. So right? It's the dog shits on the carpet, and then person like 3 days later then like punishes the dog. Like, are you serious?
Right.
Like dog's not learning. Dog has absolutely no idea what, and not that people are dogs, but you understand the timeliness, right? It's CrossFit cue. Somebody's been squatting shittily for, the last week, and you're in the middle of deadlifts, and you cue them, you need to get deeper in your squat. Everyone's gonna be like, what the fuck are you talking about? We're deadlifting. I don't even understand. So, right, timely and effective are kind of so is there a means by which to provide you timely feedback? Is there a means by which for them to provide you consistent or sort of scheduled feedback? And then is there means for like that feedback to somehow provide long-term habituation, change, decision-making processes, right? Does it factor in or filter in as a data point, both quantitative and qualitative, for future decisions?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like if I were to say that like there's a point, excuse me, we have our staff meeting. We have a staff meeting once a month, which is a place where like, hey, that's review the last month, going into the next month, feedback, concerns, anything that anyone wants to see, anything that anyone wants to do. It's time to start planning that out and kind of give the system plan that out. I do feel like I it's whether it's coaching homework for the week or in that meeting, we're doing some sort of in-service training where we are honing in our coaching skills. And as that constant drive point home, it's like, I want you guys to be better coaches because obviously, like, it's your job. Like, don't you want to get better at your job? But the reminder
that's a great question. Do people want to get better at their jobs? Right? Like that is actually like clarity. This is the buzzword within the world of boundary setting and vulnerability. I think it's recently it's been Brene Brown. Like, she said this, but I think she probably stole it from. We all steal everything. There is no
probably stole from Ben Bergeron. Yeah,
there are no new. But she said clarity is kindness, and that's kind of a power. Yeah, it's kind of a powerful, right? So, the clarity of them, giving them the opportunity, giving people the opportunity to offer you clarity of like, do you want to get better at your job? Yeah. And if in that sense, is that progression of improvement leading towards a professionalization of your skill set?
Right.
And if they're like, I don't understand what that means, you'd be like, awesome. What do you consider yourself a professional in currently? And if they list off like, and at no point is CrossFit coaching in that list, though sort of like a end around move, they've offered you, or somebody's offered you, a clarity of like, they don't see this as a profession. This is not a part of their identity. It is a fun thing they do, but I wouldn't identify myself as I don't know, something like, no, those are things I'm trying to think of something that like I do, but I'm kind of like rock climber.
You ride your bike, but you wouldn't consider yourself a biker.
Yeah, totally. Or like I'm not a rock climber.
Yeah.
Andrew is a rock climber. I enjoy rock climbing with him, and I'm totally invested in doing it with him, but I don't give two shits if I ever get any better at it whatsoever. I was trying to explain this to the twins. Matt especially is a golfer. I know how to golf, and I go golfing from time to time, but I'm totally fine if I don't play another round of golf in my entire life. Right. Like, I will not like wake up and go, man, I missed out on the human experience by not golfing on vacation. Right. So those, I think that for me, those would be like things I would place in there that I would not identify myself as. Justin Bergh is no longer a CrossFitter. Yeah, right. I should have put it on. I was going to put on my TDC shirt, the one that Andy got me. But sidebar. anyway, so that could be a start of like clarifying for each other what they prioritize, because then I don't know, for me, that de-escalates the inherent move that I make inside my head of thinking the worst of the person when they do something that seems antithetical to me as a behavior by somebody who would have the same level of investment in this thing that I do, right? Like they immediately are a bad person, a lazy person, a dumb person, a annoying person, right? Like fill in the blank of all, like I immediately put that person in that category unfairly and completely psychotically, right? I'm fully aware of it, but that's what I do because it is like, I can't imagine somebody doing that if they are invested in this. Blah, 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 blah. So then if they're a good person, a smart person, a responsible person, deliberate person, then what's the other option? Oh, they're not invested in this in the same way that and they're totally allowed to not be invested in this in the same way. So maybe I should ask them if they're invested in this in the same way that I am.
Yeah. And well, do you think do you think, I guess, like I want someone invested in it the way that I am, but
do you, right? Like that. And then that's a question for you.
Like, I think it's, do I want someone as invested in it as I do? Like, what does invested mean? So like, do I want someone to, like, when someone's there for an hour coaching, I want them to care about it if for that hour as much as I do.
Okay. And maybe they do, but right. So
do I need you to live and breathe it outside of your life like I do? Not necessarily, because I know this is my job. This is what I do for a living. I recognize this is not what you do for a living. But I want you to, but if you do care in that hour, that means, okay, at the end of that hour, you're thinking, is that the best job that I could have done? If the answer is no, or if the answer is somewhere in there I could have done better, then before the next time you are on that floor, are you doing what you need to do to make those adjustments to make it better? Are you doing the homework I gave you? Are you taking, maybe 30 minutes between now and the next class you coach to just practice, go back and review the common faults and the cues for this movement? Or are you maybe watching some videos on how to move? And so it
sounds to me like you are asking of this person distinctly more than 60 minutes of their time.
Right.
And then have you compensated them effectively in order to make that ask appropriate?
And so that's where I think that's where I want to find out, like, I can sit here and say all day, I want you to do this, I want you to do this. And where does compensation come in? Well, with the staff meeting, they get paid. They get paid for the staff meeting.
So that is compensation only in the form of monetary reciprocity.
Right. So that's where, so I'm like, okay, then at what point it's like, well, you also, okay, on top of your coaching, you also get a free gym membership.
Okay.
And you have access to this gym outside of classes. And so you get this space. So, you want to put a value on that. That's, $225 a month. There's that right there. You get an open gym, which we don't say open gym, but you get space to the gym.
It's like that movie, Brighton Beach Memoirs, maybe. It was Phil Simon. No, not Phil Simon. Anyway, that they would always whisper, "Yeah, I heard Martha got cancer," and and Uncle Phil, I mean, he got the diabetes, right? Like the mom would only ever whisper the diseases because she didn't want God to hear that she was bad mouthing the person, whatever. Like, yeah. So I think he has rheumatoid arthritis. So they have access to open gym.
Open gym. If there's ever a time that there's an open gym, it will be written on the schedule in very small fonts, all lowercase letter.
It actually won't even be written. It'll be footnoted with like a 1, and
Yeah.
somebody will have to like flip through like a prospectus. Like, what the fuck is that? He has 1 footnote, and it's like it's just blank page, blank page, blank page, blank, 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 1 open gym.
Yeah. And then so there's those right there. And then also, for the time being, with some of this homework, like it's not just me, but like so the homework is stuff through Affiliate U. So it's take a video of yourself coaching, whether it's your class or you grab a handful of people and coach them through the progression of the jerk. And then that takes a few minutes, and I have the stand and the microphone and all that stuff for them to have access to.
So let me ask you.
Not only am I looking at, you get access to.
Can I ask you kind of a hard question?
Yeah.
Have you, across a week, done everything you're asking? And I mean, like recently, have you done everything you're asking these coaches to do?
Am I doing what I'm asking them to do?
And I mean, like in the way that they would actually do it, where like you've customer experienced or user experienced the ask from start to finish, Monday through Sunday, completely outside of what clearly I know what else you're doing as the owner operator, and timed it, right? So that you have an actual, like, within 5 to 10% time, emotional, and sort of qualitative cost of the ask that you're asking them. Have you actually done that recently?
The fact that, like, put that, so I'll say when I ask to coach themselves, running people through
to film themselves,
I will not ask them to do that unless I've already done it myself, as in, like, and then I've shown it, like, hey, this takes 7 minutes. I just need you to send it. But once you record it, send it to me. Takes all of, like, let's call it 10 minutes. It's all said and done. Takes 10 minutes. So that, yes. And then with the, because then what I do is I take that and I submit it to, whether it's Ackerman or now Denise Thomas or Pat Barber, whoever ends up reviewing it. There's a call. There's a call 2 times a week. It's an hour-long call. They say, hey, if you guys can make those calls, awesome. It's an hour-long coaching call, like, based on this homework. You sit and watch it. I said I'm not going to. I think I said if you have the time, watch it. So I'm not saying like it's mandatory you need to watch it, but if you have the time, watch it. If not, they record it and then they'll record the session. And then and now they're doing like video reviews of all of them. So I can even send back, like, once they get to it, I can say, hey, fast forward this video to your clip and here's the feedback you get from that. And so from that standpoint, from time, yes, because I've done it, I'll do it myself. I've done exactly what I've asked them to do. So it takes, from start to finish, record yourself, upload it, send it, 10 minutes, and then go back and watch when it comes up. Here's the 10-minute review that Denise Thomas gave.
Gotcha. So all said and done, let's just round it, 30 minutes of effort, right? Yeah. So if you have somebody, you have Jebediah is your recent coach, and Jeb goes 30 minutes. That took me an hour and a half to do that last week, Eric. You're crazy, right? So you can say to him and be like, dude, what are you doing? Like, how is that right? The next monthly meeting, because the other thing too is, though maybe only 30 minutes on top of prep for their class, on top of read the weekly programming thing, on top of. Yeah. Plus, this is also, if you've already identified, like, this is not their profession. They love doing it, and it's right, like it's like out on the horizon of, like, maybe someday I want to become a an expert or professional CrossFit coach, right? So it's
Say hi, Jack. Sorry, hold on. Someone wanted to jump up and say hi. Oh, never mind. He's being
got great hair, looking good. That's right. Right. So there's this, at least when that coach says it's taking me 90 minutes and you've asked them to do like all this other stuff, it starts to get very loud and confusing emotionally of like, well, which one do I prioritize? Because you told me that I'm supposed to be for 60 minutes, care about this more than anything else in the world. And that's what I did. But I can't get any better because there's so much other things that you want me to do that like it all. And so, okay, clarity is, if we come back to the cliche, clarity is the kindness that you can offer them. I want you to do one thing, right? This month, one thing. And that's it. And that's the only thing that they have to do to make them better for that 60 minutes. Really, like it comes down to like, okay, let's just simplify. I just want you to show up 5 minutes early, coach a great class, leave 10 to 15 minutes after the class is over. So already for 60 minutes of pay, you're actually asking them for 75
well,
minutes.
I'll say you're not charged for 60 minutes pay. It's $25 a class. The class entails opening up.
So I'm just
closing,
right. Like we could parse out the quantitative details of it. And at some point that quantitative value blends, merges, muddies into the qualitative value. And so like starting with the quantitative, we can both like just point at it. Like, okay, you worked 9 hours this month. You got paid this amount. Was that amount worth 9 hours of your time? And the person goes, that's not 9 hours, dude. That was like 25 hours. So really, and you're like, whoa, 25, where'd you get 25 from? Well, it took me bop. And you're like, oh, I totally get where you're coming from. 25 hours of time. You're right. But let's look at this. Is that 25 hours because of something I'm doing or something because of you're doing? And if we can trim that down to an actual like 15 hours without actually any more cost to me, and you're getting you being the coach are getting a more efficient value to compensation ratio, awesome, right? Maybe that's the first step. And then we can identify some sort of qualitative compensational reciprocity to that time to money ratio, right? It's this weird, funky thing. Like money isn't real. It's not a real thing, right? Like, sure, it's dollar bills, gold coins, right? Whatever you want, but it's not actual, like, it doesn't, push comes to shove, zombie apocalypse, like we're going to be wiping our asses with dollar bills. Like nobody actually, it doesn't have any intrinsic value to it. Its value is what you say it's worth and what I say it's worth. And then it like, now that it's the bridge between I want time and you want 60 minutes of amazing human interaction between that person who's a representation of you and the people who are paying for the service of elite, excellent fitness instruction. Right? So do you see it? So it constantly is like this back and forth balance of, okay, well, if I'm asking you to do 10 things and I want you to do all of them the best, which one is the most important?
Number 3.
And right, like, what did you use to come up with that determination? It's like, shit, I've asked them to do too much. Yeah. All right, let's make this easy. Just do this one thing. And then when we're good at that, maybe we'll layer on, right? Mechanics, consistency, intensity. Yeah. I feel like somebody said that one time. And so that, like, I would try to to remove as much assumption and guessing of what the recipients of my guidance, what they're thinking, what I'm thinking they're hearing. If I'm assuming or guessing what that is, I've already failed in my position of management or leadership, right? Like it has to be like, I just said blah, 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 blah. What did you hear? To what do you take away from that? And that's sort of like, okay, we just finished the meeting. What is everyone's next step? What is everyone going to do? If they're like, I'm going to video myself. I'm going to fill out this form. I'm going to be like, oh, fuck. I said one thing and they heard like 9 different things. God dang it. All right. That's not them. That's not on them.
Me.
That's on me. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we used to always talk about it too. It's like, I want, because I think I remember, because it was like my experience at TrueCore, there were a lot of hobby coaches, and it was just from like, it was an obvious, like, if you coach minimum 2 classes a week, you get a free gym membership. And there were 1 or 2 coaches that straight up said to me, I just do this for the free gym membership. And I was like, I absolutely do not want that, because they don't care. Like they're perfectly fine people. And there were people actually like, actually my favorite coach is so-and-so. And I thought that was funny, because it was like, it's funny because I think maybe too, it's like I hold myself to a higher standard. So like they ran a fun class and people got a good workout in, and they got out of there. And could it have been better? Like, could the coach have coached it better? Could people have moved better? Yeah, sure. But the person that was in that class that said so-and-so is my favorite coach is like, well, they're happy. So they're doing something right.
Totally.
And so it's like, hating on the hobby coach maybe isn't necessarily like, the best thing. Cause it's like, well, the hobby coach can get the job done. I think as long as they're still working within the values that you want this gym to have, and your values. So, and so when I thought to myself, I was like, no, I say bare minimum. And the reason I say bare minimum, I would want someone coaching 2 classes a week, is because just like anything else, you only get better at it by spending time with doing it.
Yeah.
And I feel like 2 times, that's 8 classes a month. That is like the bare minimum. Like, how much better? I mean, I think about when I didn't, I felt like after Axel was born, I didn't coach for, I think it was like 10 straight days. Like the schedule was full. I was here, and then I came in and coached one morning, and I felt rusty and I felt off. And it was, so I do feel like there's that, there's too much time falls in between. You almost it's like you almost get rusty for a second. And so I guess now it's like trying to tell, like, I'm totally okay with the hobby coach, but I need the hobby coach to still be invested in like improving. Like, I want you to want to get better. Do you have to be the most phenomenal coach you may, over the course of a year, 2-3 years, if you stick around and want to be the hobby coach 2-3 years, that 3 years, just a little bit every time, you could end up becoming a phenomenal coach. And so I'm totally fine with like finding the line, be like, okay, you can coach this bare minimum, but I still I want a little bit here and there to make sure that we are still progressing. Like, I still want you to go take your level 2. And then maybe even down the line, take your level 3. And who knows, maybe in that time they find that, hey, actually, I really enjoy this more than I enjoy other stuff. They want to make it more of a hobby. And so
that's what you want. Does that align? Does that align with what they want?
That's the question that should be asked. We had the conversation about one intern I had where it was very clear that, like, at first it seemed like that's what they wanted. And then after further conversations, like, oh, I don't think this is for you at all. Especially when one of the comments was, yeah, I'm not really like a people person. I'm not really into like straight up said, like, yeah, coaching people isn't really like, it's not really my dream. It's not what I want to do. And I'm like, and if it's not your dream, I can even live with like, okay, totally cool. If it's not your dream, like, I can live with that. It's not your dream.
Yeah. I work at NASA. I fucking hate space.
Right. Right.
Hate space movies. Hate everything about it. I don't even like looking up at the sky.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah.
Wait a second. Why do you work at NASA? Great coffee shop in the basement.
Yeah. Right. So that was a big one. I was like, okay, then this probably is not the gig for you. Definitely.
I just cracked myself up.
Yeah.
I'm imagining. You know how Andy sometimes listens to this. He likes to like catch out or kind of like pull out like a favorite. I just imagined. I'm just totally. I can imagine him like, great line. Why do you work at? I love working at NASA. I hate space or whatever the fuck it's.
I hate space. Don't Mark. That was about the 50. I was going to pull that clip. That'll be great. It'll be great. But
that's it. Anyway, I mean, hey man, if you can't be your biggest fan, your biggest comedy fan, right? They're cracking up here.
No.
Then what the hell are you doing? What a waste of time.
It's funny. Someone asked me yesterday about like, telling jokes, and they're like, "Do you just store them? Like, do you memorize them? You store them? Like, it's weird. I hear it once and it's locked in." And they're like, so if you don't get a laugh, do you just like forget it? I'm like, oh no, because like the jokes aren't for you; they're for me.
Right.
And so like even sometimes like if you guys want to, it's almost better if you roll your eyes and give me a groan. That almost tells me that's even better. Like you gave me reaction, which I think is more important. Like a bad reaction is better than no reaction.
That's right. The efficacy of the joke does not rely on the response of the audience.
Yeah.
Or you don't measure the efficacy of the joke based on the response of the audience.
Because like your groans make me laugh. And
that's right.
And then your laughs make me laugh. Your lack of response, either well, I need to tell the joke again because you obviously weren't listening.
Right. I need to tell it more. I need to tell it louder.
Yeah.
And I need to tell it closer to you.
Or B, you're not reacting because you're probably thinking it yourself, and you're and anyone that groans and says like, "Oh God, that was a bad one." Don't act like you're not telling that joke to someone else.
Because you're looking for the same response.
You know you are.
That's right.
Well,
so here's the deal, like, right? Like that's such a great metaphor for where your persistence comes from, right? If you're attempting in this process to not only become, to be of better service to those you coach, to those you manage, to those you lead, to your kids, to your spouse, whatever, right? Like all of that. One of those steps is then you have to also keep trying to figure out who the hell are you? Like what makes you tick? I think you just, right there, you just kind of uncovered a pretty big, your persistence lies in that realm of like, okay, like telling of jokes is a very potent motivator for you in some way. And so sort of unpacking that and being like, yeah, that is crazy. Like I actually will tell a joke more frequently, more often, and with greater energy, the less reaction I get from somebody. Fascinating. What the fuck is that? And it's not bad, right? Like there's just like, okay, let me unpack that. So like, is there a reciprocal sort of, you will continue to ask of people more and more things people who work for you, you will continue to ask, you will load more and more onto them, the less and less they respond to you. Like if there's an equal habit in that, you could be like, oh God, like with jokes, it works. With management, oh God, I have to stop that. Oh, okay. Like, and now all of a sudden you've opened up the fluidity with which you have to have different styles, different approaches to things.
That's good, because I think that's totally like we're like
special guest star.
What's up, Tenacious?
Hello, Eric.
He says hello. Oh, you heard him. He says, "What's up, Tenacious?"
What's up, Eric?
He can't hear you because I have headphones on. I got the headphones.
I can't hear anything you say.
What's up, Tenacious?
I don't speak sign language either.
You should learn it.
That was really good.
What did he say?
He said you should learn it.
Oh, I see.
I guess I could
I
unplug
Disney's
him.
guess
bullshit.
he knows that. I know that. That's bullshit.
This
That
is
was fun.
fertile.
He's got to go to work. He's got to go break things.
Yeah. It was good
Oh,
seeing you,
good.
Eric.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's weird. I'll take that back.
You said I love you.
Love you too, Eric.
Oh, you're awesome,
hate-
dude.
I hate to see you leave, but I love to watch you go.
Oh, look at that.
So what was I saying? Yeah, it's funny because like if let's say, all right, cool, all right, this week I want you to just take a video of you doing the squat, send it to me. If all coaches do that and send it to me, cool, boom, awesome. If I do the next week, all coaches send it to me, boom, awesome. So like, cool, this thing's working. And then like the next week, like 2 coaches send it to me. Let's say I have 5 coaches, 2 coaches send it to me. Okay, well, like these 3 didn't. So what else do these 3 need? Okay, these 3. Okay, so you're not doing that. So then instead I need you to do this. And it's sort of like you said, like it is like
Like that's what your tendency is
like,
to do.
like you said, like if you don't respond, like I'm just gonna give you more. And I think I totally do that.
Versus extending the timeline, right? Like how long will you give an athlete to continue to improve on their squat?
How long? Like
how long? Somebody who's just starting CrossFit, if they were to say like, I really want to get good at snatching.
Yeah.
Like I really want to get good at it.
Yeah.
What will you say to them as far as like, okay, well,
it's
like,
a process.
You won't even give them a
Yeah.
timeline, right? Because it's demoralizing. You'd be like, all right, cool. Like, so in about 15 years, you'll be proficient.
Yeah.
Like what?
We'll still have some work to do.
Right, exactly. Like, yeah, no, it's forever. It's a lifetime. Like you will always be able to get better. So to expect the desire for them, that sort of personal examination and iterative assessment for the sake of continual improvement, that they're going to get it in a week, I think your timeline's too short.
Well, I think I'm not even and I guess it's not even like am I looking for them to show improvement in a week? No, I'm even happy. Let's say they coach it and they're like being on camera in front of the class and knowing that they're being evaluated just gets in their head. And it's, and it totally like I'll put Ariel on there, like that's Ariel. So like first time I ever asked her to like video herself, she was a wreck.
Right.
And so I was like, you know what? Like, was that the best that she could do? No, I know it was the best she could do because there was all these other things in her head that were like in the way. But she gave the effort. And so I know that if she's willing to give that effort, in time she will get better. And
so then maybe there's right? Like there's a sense of like a de-escalation or a desensitization of evaluation, of the process of evaluation. Right. For so many, it's sort of like, okay, entering argument here. When you coach, you are constantly being evaluated. What? Like, yeah, the person you're coaching, they're evaluating you. Like, that's it. Like, you're constantly being evaluated as you coach. All I'm going to do is layer in another layer of evaluation. And it's going to start with, the camera that is at the front of the gym is always on. And so we have a documented record of you coaching. And it's going to start with, you're going to evaluate yourself in coaching the warm-up. And I want a 1-page, 1 paragraph, or just use this template, blah, 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 whatever. You're going to watch. You don't even have to set the camera up. You don't have to do anything. It's already on. You are always being evaluated. That freaks me out. I get it. The people you coach just start, oh, right, you're right. They do always evaluate. Yeah, you're right. Like, okay, got it. So that's one layer. Then the next layer is, okay, I know that camera's going, but I want you to set up another camera to catch you from a different angle, because in a class, you got the people in the front, you got the people in the middle, you got the people in the back. They're all getting a different view of you. They're all getting a different. So now it's like, you can do that for 2 months. You're just going to do 2 months of just the camera at the top of the gym. That's what's filming you. And you're going to review yourself, blah, blah, blah. Then 3 months later, then 4 months. Like extending out that timeline. Now all of a sudden the person has no problem, maybe at some point being evaluated. Let's say they never get over it. Maybe then the conversation is, are you sure this is what you want to do? Because in this field, being evaluated is a critical skill set. Being comfortable being evaluated is a critical skill set. I'm never going to be comfortable being evaluated. Okay, let's examine that. Is that really, are you talking about comfort, or are you talking about you will never accept being evaluated? Because there's a difference. And the way you just described to Erin, she will accept it. She'll never maybe be comfortable, but that's okay, right? Like she'll accept the process. She'll find ways to make it more acceptable. She'll figure out how to fake it until she makes it, right? Like, and as you said, I'm willing to accept that. So now maybe the process puts into place the availability, the opportunity for someone to kind of walk that line of habituation to where the byproduct, the inadvertent byproduct, is professional improvement. Yeah. Right. And then it's like, oh, look, this was you a year ago. This is you now. Right. That feels very similar to the person who has a picture of themselves before they started CrossFit and the picture after they started CrossFit, because we are visual people, like we are visual animals. And they're like, holy shit, I didn't, or the other way around, right? They've been doing CrossFit for a while and then they just kind of fall off the wagon a little bit. And they're like, holy crap, this was me in June of 2 years ago. This is me now. I need to get back on the horse, right? Like, yeah, so there's that offering of contextual relationship, contextual improvement, contextual degradation. But again, like if they don't want it, how do you I can hope for them all they want. If they don't want it, they ain't gonna fucking do it. Yeah. And they're gonna call in, 10 minutes before they're supposed to coach a class. Oh, dude, do you think you can cover for me? I got this really cool thing I want to go to, and be like, oh, wow. You and I do not see this the same way. We are not on the same page. I'm gonna make this real easy. You're good. Like, you're not fired, but let's just say you're good. We got to circle back around on this. And right. And maybe then the fear of having it taken away offers a brand new, like, oh God, I really do want this. You're like, okay, great. Well, then let's figure out what that actually looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's like you said, clarity is kindness. So just being totally upfront as to what my expectations are and whether or not are you cool beating those or not? And then figure out, and then like you said, figure out what is that, and then I guess what that compensation looks like. I do have this expectation from you. Right now I'm offering you this. Is this enough to get this from you?
Yeah.
Or do we need to kind of find somewhere to meet in the middle?
Yeah. And then, right. And then there's a standardization, right? Standardization offers consistency. Consistency offers comfort because people know what to expect, right? We are not comfortable in doubt and uncertainty. It's scary. It's fucking, you're constantly working to like figure it out, right? Like, sure.
It's poopy.
Yeah, I like that. But there's value in a certain amount of uncertainty, in the sense of like it stimulates excitement, or it stimulates kind of that like, ooh, exciting. But too much of it, like, ugh, fuck that, I'm out. It's too hard. So right, like this is welcome to the joyous world of management.
That's right. It's like it's I love it because like there's so much freedom to it, like running your own business, being your own boss, and this and that. But there's also still like you're also kind of at the like saying it this way is like I think being dramatic, but at the mercy of the people you have choosing to run this with you, work this with you, and like even in this world, even the coach that's on the floor of the Leafs is still an important cog in the whole thing, and so yeah, it's still there's a lot of freedom, but you're also kind of tied to these people that you bring along with you. But that's the nature.
The prison. It's the prison of retail.
Yeah.
You've established, right? You've established your own prison of you will be open at these times. You or your representative will be present at those times. And there will be a value or a level of service provided at that time. And so as the sole owner and proprietor, like you are locked into it.
Yeah.
Unless you decide that like, nope, I'm not gonna. And then you pay the consequences.
Yeah. Yep.
That's my dad. My dad said that early on. He's like, avoid the prison of retail for as long as possible. He's like, you can never like you own a business, you're a entrepreneur, whatever. There will always be aspects of that chain being chained to it.
Yeah.
The more you can avoid it and sort of and put into place things. He didn't go with it. He just called it the prison of retail and then told some story about like how he crushed it and was an expert in it and stuff. Which, I mean, ironically, I'm making fun of him a little bit in that, but he's not wrong. Like he does have legitimate like he never does anything without a plan. Like I get it from somewhere. And so like it's just it just comes saddled with other stuff. But that's because it's Ryan. Like 10-minute story takes 4 hours to tell.
I think I was on the end of one of those ones. It's good.
But yeah, the prison of retail, man. It's like, oh shit. Do I really need to be tied to this desk? Do I really need to be ass and seat? Like, what's the requirement here? And so in a sense, like you're trying to balance with these employees, with your coaches, like you do have an AIS requirement for them, an ass and seat requirement. They physically have to be at the gym during a certain amount of time. And then you're also asking for them non-AIS requirements.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but they still need to be completed. But they can be completed on their own time. But they do need to be done by a certain amount of time. So there's like this.
Yeah.
To me, those are the harder ones to assign back end results or back end worth to, versus it's very easy to see the value of the 60-minute coached class, right? Like it is physical, it is temporal, and it is like immediate, and it's immediate and emotional, right? Like it's all it is very potent. There's a clarity of like, oh yeah, right. Like if you don't show up, this class does not get taught.
Right. Business
shuts down. Right. Like that's it. Oh,
right.
Okay.
And then no one gets a free gym membership.
Right. There's 100% eye to eye. Like, got it. Yeah. But if you were to ask you've asked, Coach Jebediah, like, dude, you haven't done your self-review.
Which hasn't shown up in weeks, by the way.
Right. You haven't done your self-review in like 3 months. Dude, what the heck? And he's like, it's not worth it to me. And you're like, oh, right. Well, it's not worth anything to him because you haven't defined the value, because it's not physical, temporal, physical, timely, and explicit.
Yeah. It's good, man. It's good. Thanks for that journey. It's good.
You're welcome.
Get through that. I appreciate that.
And if anyone's interested in executive coaching such as this, please contact
Bob Ryan.
Footnote, currently not taking clients.
I have one very important client myself. All right, dude. Let's roll into it. Gratitudes this week.
You go.
Me go. So I was thinking about it. I had this. She's actually making me think about it right now because there's a little stinker sitting right over here, and I had this one night last week where I was just like, I was so tired, and I was like, I think I was like, it was like bedtime, and like bedtime. It's hard now too with it being lighter out later.
Mhm.
It's like they're going to be up a little bit later, and I'll tell you after coaching the morning class by like 7 o'clock, I'm now like, okay, we need to start like winding stuff down because I'm now running on fumes at this point. But now bedtime, and we normally around the winter we'd start bedtime around 7 o'clock because it's getting dark. Well, now it's not getting dark till like 9 o'clock. And we've tried keeping bedtime earlier, and it ain't happening because it's light out. And I remember what it felt like to be going to bed when it was still light outside. And it sucks. And I just remember this one night last week where it was.
I love going to bed while it's still light out.
Of course, I think it's also I had a babysitter who I swear to God one time was like putting us to bed, and we're like, it's still light out. It's like, no, it's late, whatever. Like, there's still kids playing outside.
Like,
Like,
it's 4:30 in the
you're obviously trying to have your
afternoon.
boyfriend over. So,
Sorry, I derailed your gratitude.
no, but it was but I just remember it was just one of those nights where I was just like, I was getting frustrated with them and doing bedtime, and they were goofing off, and I was just not in the mood. And I think it was like the next morning where I was just like thinking about it. And it just was like one of those, like I was mad at them. I was like irritated with them, but I wasn't really irritated with them. I was just irritated. And I kind of came back to this, and it was a conversation I had with Meg too. Like, I just need to go back and remind myself that they're just little kids, and they're very excited. They wanted to play. And I was so mad that they wanted to play. And it just felt like, I think my gratitude is like, I don't know if it's Meg, if it's that moment that I had that clarity and awareness that I was just like back. And I remember I think it was the same exact, let's say the same exact thing happened the next night, where maybe I was like equally as tired and they were doing the same things. But I kind of like went back to that and took that breath and just kind of talked to myself for a minute, like they just want to play, because in a couple of years they're not going to want to play, and they'll eventually, and bedtime's so much harder when you fight it. Like, just roll with it. And sure enough, like, I played with them, and bedtime was just as late as it was the night before. But they both fell asleep like that, and they both were happy. And Fiona was, I don't know, it's just one of those like parenting moments where I had this moment where I felt like, man, I was like, that was a shit moment as a dad. And then kind of coming to the realization is like, well, you could handle it better. Like, they're not trying to keep you up. They're not doing anything like personally to try to make you mad. You're just in a mood and you don't want to try to recover from it. And you're your own worst enemy, and you're getting in your own way. And when I kind of like took that moment, I was like, yeah, I guess I am kind of getting my own way, and just accepted it. It was way more fun, and it felt better. And I didn't feel like a crappy dad going to bed that night. So it was like,
That's a good thing.
Like, yeah, so I think I just had this moment of like self-awareness that I need to come back to every once in a while when things get hard, things get stressful. And I play the victim, like, God, why are they fighting it so much? I just want to go to sleep. And all they want to do is like I just put on this like victim mentality of just like, they're out to get me. They're not out to get me. They want to play with their dad, and and they're kids, and they're excited, and they're tired, even though they don't know that they're tired. And
Right.
And it's just kind of getting myself out of that almost like victim mindset, where it's just like, hey man, just roll with it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That was kind of
Well, that's good. I mean, like, that's fucking awesome. Good on you for like, that's it, right? Isn't that's it? That's the whole game. It's just being able to be willing to take that second and not be quite so consumed by your own self-imposed obstacles.
Right. Like, that's exactly what it was. It was all my own, own garbage just in the way.
Wow. Right. Isn't that's just good job being a slightly better human. And that's that's all we can all strive for.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's funny. Mine is also sort of family related, and sort of a similar, like, kind of like a moment of new developed awareness, or sort of like a different level of awareness around kind of the thing. So we were chatting down at the Outer Banks. They're all still down there. Wow, that's loud.
You came home just for this podcast?
I did, just for this podcast. It's that important to me, Eric. You are that important to me. But Nicole, we were just chatting about like, all the kids are getting older, and sort of it's like this, like exactly as you described, like the stories and the memories of like when they're hanging off of you and you hate it, and then like you blink your eye and you can't even get them to like come home. So it's sort of that like, oh shit. And then of course there's all those people like, enjoy every minute of it. It's gonna go by in a blink of an eye. And you're like, go fuck yourself. I'm exhausted. Right.
So true.
Yeah. But Nicole said something fascinating, and I was like, holy shit, that's genius. She said they're at, the boys especially, and Andrew even too, they're at this age where like they are so self-reliant and kind of just do their things on their own. And if we don't pay attention, like I'll go 3 days without seeing them.
Yeah.
And so she is constantly thinking about how to put herself in a position where she is in their way. like almost physically in their way.
Yeah.
So like, and there's a point to this. And
I say, does she have a sleeping bag in front of the front door?
like more or less, but more so like, okay, so she doesn't want to play golf, but she's trying to figure out like, okay, maybe I'll just like, can I ask them, like, invite me to come and I'll just drive the cart. So like, she's just with him with rock climbing. Like she's on a mission to improve her fitness, not to get better at fitness, but so that she can go rock climbing with Andrew.
Oh, cool.
And she's imagining like, right, like it's the old cliche of I do CrossFit so that I can play with my grandkids.
Right.
But in a sense, like if we're gonna live to 100, like I can feasibly have like great grandkids. Like I want to be able to, and she wants to be able to have the physicality to be able to do these things with these ridiculously active kids who they're showing like they want to be active. And so they wanted surfboards. We got to the Outer Banks. We didn't bring surfboards. Rob was hilarious. He's like, God, I got like a garage full of surfboards. And we even thought about it. I'm like, I don't fucking feel like huffing those things down or whatever. $70 for the week. So $10 a day to rent surfboards. Twins were like, can we get them?
Bad.
Right. That's totally right.
Yeah.
But this is the burden of always having the burden and the privilege of always having twins. You always have to double everything.
Too.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's always like whenever they have friends who are like one kid or cousins or whatever, like be like, oh, it's only going to be, $60 a person. So like we're a family of 3, like it'll be like $180. And I'm always like, that's $300 for me. Right. Like everything's always a little bit more. So $70 is actually 140, which is actually 148 with taxes and whatever. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, but like you can totally just get one board and share it. And I'm like, but that's not surfing, right? No. Surfing is having your own board, being able to have your own freedom. And really surfing is just being out there. Yeah. And so I was like, and that's what Nicole was talking about, like finding, right? Like I still have this illusion that I do CrossFit so that I could do better in the open, but I'm not. Like I don't really want to invest that time. So it's like, all right, well, how do I motivate? I want to be able to, like, in 20, 30 years, like still be able to go surfing and mountain climbing and rock climbing and hiking and like this stuff. And it starts now. Like it started so that I can just keep putting myself in their way. Yeah. Right. Like, and not in a way that they have to consider me as like shit, we got a plan for dad to come along. Be like, oh, you already have your backpack and your shoes on. Oh yeah, we're leaving right now. Right. Exactly. Right. Like that's the visual that Nicole's story made me think. And I was like, that's flipping awesome. Yeah. The way she said it, I was so grateful for the way she said it, of like that's the new reason, the new why behind like everything. So like, am I going to eat this ridiculously large piece of pie? Well, yeah, I'm going to eat it. But do I need to eat the whole thing? No, I probably only need to eat like 1 or 2 bites, because if I eat the whole thing, then I'm going to feel like shit tomorrow morning, and then I won't be able to. And I do that. And if I do that for the next 15 years, that's a totally different trajectory than just, right? Like like the why behind it is so that I can just find the opportunities to kind of just be in their way and come along for the ride.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't have to drive. I'm not driving the bus anymore. I'm not even in the passenger seat. I'm just in the back seat. I'm not tied to the bumper or tied to the roof like grandma from. Right? I'm just in the back seat with my backpack. Like I just that's it. And Nicole said it. Of course, she said it in like one sentence because she is much smarter and wittier and snappier. I took 15 minutes to say it, but that feeling of like, right? I turned the 2-page writing assignment into a 20-page novella. Just finding a way to feasibly like be in their way.
Yeah.
But like welcomed because you're along for the ride.
You hear that, Fee? I'm going to be in your way for the rest of your life.
She's like, oh, don't I know it?
She's not even listening. She's zoned out. I said, I'm just going to be in the way for the rest of your life.
I don't even know what that means.
Means I love you, Koopy. All right. Cool. All right, brother.
Yeah, she was a good one. So I guess, yeah, gratitude is her, of course.
That's cool.
And the boys and the twins and their surfing and we all caught waves, which was pretty damn cool. Awesome. That was pretty fun. Which is what I'm having FOMO for right now. And I was like, I'm very sad. Like I kind of just want to get in the car Thursday night after my class is over and like get there at 2 a.m. Friday and have the day Friday. But I don't know. And she was very smart too. She's like, you can also accomplish that with Andrew at home because he ain't coming. And I was like, oh, that's a good point too. Like this is when you have the privilege or the opportunity to have all these great things to do, like none of them are better or worse than the other. It's really just the power of make a choice and like, anyway, totally different. That's a totally different topic sidebar, but that'll be next week's episode.
I like it. Awesome. Cool.
Hi, all right, dude. That was fun.
Good stuff. No Justin Bergh today. Oh, well.
Oh, well. All right. It's old news.
Maybe
and also, who really cares?
Who cares?
Like, does it really affect? No, it doesn't affect.
I saw this comment. Someone, I saw this comment on social media or something. It's like, they just need to, like, what a mess right now. They just need to separate. They need to separate the affiliates from the games and this and that. And I'm like, feels like a knee-jerk reaction to someone getting fired that 90% of the people in the village probably have no idea who he is.
Right. Nike just needs to stop making shoes. I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. Like they just stick with the shorts, all right, guys?
Just stick with the shorts, yeah.
Just make the shorts.
Anyway, cool. All right, brother.
All right, man. Good seeing you.
Ending the bro.